Welcome back, my friends. We're going to look at Proverbs 11:2 in light of Saul and David. Saul watched David walk back from the valley with Goliath's head in his hand. He heard the crowd singing. Saul had slain his thousands, but David his tens of thousands. And from that day, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. Jealousy was the symptom. Underneath it was pride and fear working together. The fear of becoming small in the eyes of people who used to look up to him. The pride that could not stand watching someone else be greater. See, he did not challenge David directly. He kept sending David on harder and harder missions, hoping that he would fail and get killed. And Saul needed David to die, just disappear. And most of us know what that feels like, to root against someone else's success. A philosopher named Alistair McIntyre wrote in his book, After Virtue, that ancient cultures built their moral lives around heroes. You heard the stories around the evening fire about brave, honest, self-giving people. And something in you says, I want to be just like that person. The hero was someone you wanted to become. But the modern instinct is to tear down the hero, expose the flaw, find the hypocrisy, prove they're just as ordinary as everyone else. Because if everyone is small, no one has to change. A genuine hero, someone with real courage, real sacrifice, holds up a mirror. You see yourself in it and you do not like what you see. And you basically have a couple of options. Let it humble you or spend your energy killing the hero. Saul tried to kill David and it cost him everything. Proverbs 11:2 says, pride leads to disgrace, but with humility comes wisdom. Do you see what happens to a man like Saul? The more he refused to be humbled, the smaller he became, more paranoid, more insecure, more erratic, more enslaved to the fear of the man he was trying to destroy. Saul spent what should have been his greatest years chasing a shepherd teenage boy through the wilderness. The pride that started as self-protection ended as a cage. Cynicism feels like freedom in the beginning. I'm not fooled. I do not need heroes. I'm answerable only to myself. But watch what cynicism does to a person over time. It does not make them freer. It makes them smaller, harder, more fragile. And Saul is that man. Jonathan, Saul's son, chose differently. He looked at David and let it humble him. He saw the mirror and stayed in front of it. He stripped off his robe and his sword, his bow, his belt, and gave them to David. He handed over the symbols of his own status and position without a fight. The humbling did not crush him, it freed him. He became one of the most beloved figures in the whole story. Same mirror, two men, two completely different responses. There is someone in your life right now whose quiet faithfulness convicts you. You know the feeling. Something in you goes a little cold when they walk in the room. And you find yourself looking for the flaw, the inconsistency, the thing that would make them ordinary. Because ordinary would be easier. And some of you have been pulling mirrors down for years, with good reason maybe. People who held themselves up as examples and turned out to be frauds. You are hurt. But somewhere along the way, the self-protection became a habit. And now you pull down every mirror, even the ones that are telling you something true. Jesus holds up the clearest mirror of all. And what it shows is the truth about where we actually stand. Where we stand before a loving God who is fully loving and caring. And He wants us to live without the disorder of sin that puts every human heart away from God. The difference between Jesus and every other hero is what He does next. Every other hero holds up the mirror and leaves you wanting. Jesus holds up the mirror and sees exactly what's in there and then steps into it Himself. He does not stand at a distance pointing at what you are missing. He takes the burden of what the mirror reveals. He carries the record of everything you have tried not to look at and nailed it to a cross. And then he offers you his record in its place. Clean, whole, righteous, holy, permanent. And that is grace. And it only reaches you if you stop fighting with the mirror. The moment you stop resisting is where it starts. Saul spent his life pulling the mirror down. He died smaller than he started, chasing a boy he could not catch, afraid of a throne he could not keep. Jonathan let the mirror stand. He ended up with something Saul never had, a friend who was closer than a brother, a story worth telling, a soul at rest. The mirror, my friends, is still up. What will you do with what it shows about who you are? Spend some time today. Look at the mirror of Jesus. Where are you? And instead of running away or bringing that mirror down, see where God wants you to be and where transformation needs to take place in your life to become more like Jesus. God bless you, and I'll see you soon.